Good evening, witches. Hi, witches. Welcome to week 12 of the Beginner Witch series. Tonight, we're going to talk about
Spellwork.
Spellwork.
See you in a minute. Hello, everybody.
Good evening, witches.
We are just getting our screen set up. We are using my computer tonight. And then I always remember that I don't think that Mac and Zoom, unless there's something I'm missing, like the way that they create the stuff together, it just never feels kosher. It just never like fits together really well.
Yeah, we can't see some of you.
Yeah,
some of you are behind the chat and behind the
like it doesn't move over like it does with PC. Yeah, it's just different. So that's what we were talking about as you all came on. Is we don't like our view. We like to see everybody's faces, and this blocks a couple people, and that's I don't know. It's not what we want. Yeah,
it's a bummer.
If we could see you guys all on like a big screen and feel like we're in one nice big circle, that'd be amazing. But here we are. As you can see, we're like shoulder to shoulder. That's the space between us. There's none, so that we can fit on the little screen. Right here. That's how we do it. This week on Thursday at 7 p.m. we will be live on YouTube for the Q&A section of pre-spellwork and this course tonight, Spellwork. And I kind of feel like the entire course, the entire series of the Beginner Witch series leads up to Spellwork a little bit. I was asking my son tonight, my son is 17, and I said, all right, I like to get like opinions from other people way outside of kind of witchcraft and like see what they think. What's their perception? What do we know? What is pop culture taught us? So I asked him, I said, honey, if I was doing spell work, what do you think I would be doing? What would I be seeing? And he was so cute. He's a Scorpio, like this one. So at first he got all, philosophical. He's like, well, you'd probably be trying to solve a problem in your life. And I'm like, no, I mean, like, what would I look like? What would you think I'd be? What would you see me doing? He's like, you probably have candles and sage and maybe a book that you read out of. I'm like, oh my gosh. So definitely some pop culture references, some good stuff. So then I asked him, I said, do you think that if witches just read from a book and have crystals and sage around, like that's the spell and that's it? And he goes, is there more? Like, yes, and that's what our class is about tonight. How just having all of the correspondence stuff and how easy that they make it look, because it's a physical action of performing. Spell work is a lot more than that, and it actually takes nothing physical. And that's what tonight's lesson is really about, sort of all the misconceptions of spell work and going over some, what do we do when we get books that are written by other people? How do we make it our own, or what do you do with that? And because spell work is the thing, I think. When you think of a witch, I think spell work goes like,
well, look at the social media posts and you see like spooky spaces with stuff all over a table with books open with all these ingredients and everything.
That's the magical side of it, right? It's
that's what people think witchcraft is. And so yeah, I would say that yes.
It's super interesting. I love that part of it because until you really know other witches, or you find the books that describe other stuff, you're already hot.
Hot.
That's because we're so close together. Look, we're sharing heat, Mom, in the Florida heat.
It says it's 77 in here. I was like, oh shit.
You always have to turn down the air before, because sitting this close,
we generate heat.
You do, yeah. It's lovely though.
That's it. Have I told you guys about Solitary Witch Society? I don't think I've been bringing up Solitary Witch Society.
We have brought up a few things.
Yeah.
Honestly.
So there's a website called Solitary Witch Society, and we are building on that website. We're building a community of witches, and I would love for you guys to come and join us there. You can create a profile. There's not a lot of interaction yet, but there will be. So once you get there, it's really easy.
The premises of it though, like
the premise behind it is that we want to build a community of witches all over the country. So that witches in Colorado or Boston or California can find other witches in their area and connect with them. So that is the premise behind the whole thing. Right now, there's probably about 20 people that are signed up, but I haven't been promoting it. It's an idea
We're
that came,
learning.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's an idea that came out of an in-person meetup that we had, probably our very first in-person meetup. In fact, Sarah Bradley's on here with us tonight. She was one of those people. And I think she was the one who said to me, yeah, a place where we can get together and connect. So, so this that's what this is for.
Yeah.
So go there if you want to, you know, get in on the ground floor, if you will, and to start building this witch
Help us
community.
figure it out.
Yeah, and you know,
That's
you
true.
can post, you can write something and post. I made some categories so we could start topics, but not a lot going on there yet, except we're going to get people there, and then we're going to start.
We're growing.
You know, yeah, we're just growing.
So I think the other part of it was we have a lot of witches that we see. So our meetup has like
2,200.
Okay. So we have 2,200 witches on the meetup right now, and we don't know
In
how
our
to
group.
help them get connected to each other. And it is something that we would really love, because this is not about us. We didn't do this so that we could be validated and have like a space for us to talk. Although I love to talk, but that's not what it's for. It's actually so that we can try to connect other people together, because every single witch that I've ever helped learn, love that for me, teach, every single witch that I've ever helped teach, they're lonely. We're all very lonely. And we're like, wow, I feel like there's other people out there for me, but I don't know how to find them. I don't know where they go. I don't know how to make myself vulnerable and say, are you a witch? I'm a witch. You want to hang out sometime? People don't
How to
do
make
that.
witch friends. Yeah.
Yes.
So how to make witch friends.
I mean, and I actually, you guys, it's really funny. There are online articles that say how to make witch friends. And one of them is saying, go to social meetups, metaphysical places, so that you run into them. It was like, you know, this sounds a lot like Match back in 2012 when I tried to online date. It was like, where do you want to meet somebody? I was like, yeah, Barnes and Noble. I want to meet people who are into books. Like, it's witch dating, but for not dating, for friend relationships. I don't know. It's funny. So that is what Solitary Witch Society is about. And Kat is running that all by herself.
Yep.
I kind of feel like it's a social media type thing, but we own it. It's not like owned by Facebook. It's not owned by Instagram.
Yeah.
It's not owned by anybody else. It's a website that we've bought, she's bought, that everything stays right there.
Yeah.
And you don't have to worry about it. Like,
yeah,
people finding you in your contacts or some shit. I think that's one of the things I really hate about social media. It's like, these people are in your contacts. I was like, well, I don't want them to know where I am and what I'm doing. So thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. And social media could change. So we have a Facebook group, but you know, that we don't,
going offline.
That could go away, or the algorithms could change, and you know, so anyway, solitarywitchsociety.com.
Come help us
there,
build a witch social network
create a profile
for people
share with us,
like us, like you, like all of us.
Right.
Okay, we'll start our lesson tonight, you guys. I think, like I said, Spellwork is sort of the epitome of the witch anthem. Most people, when they think about witches, they are thinking about the spells that witches might do. Of course, that can deviate into good witch, bad witch, controlling people, having them do harmful things, levitating people or stuff or whatever.
What's the silliest question? What's the silliest question you ever gotten about when somebody finds out you're a witch?
Oh, really?
I know.
You do? Yeah, tell me. I don't know.
Do you hex people? No, I don't hex people.
I have had people really message me and say things like, how come I can't control my candle flame? How do you do it? I was like, I don't do that. I don't waste my time trying. I don't know why you want to. I don't understand.
Why can't I levitate?
How do I get things to float in my room? I was like,
you quit watching TV.
Hollywood got to you, babe. That's what happened. I'm really sorry. If that is why people come into witchcraft and do stuff, they're just on the wrong path. They should work in Hollywood. Jim Henson has a great program. You can become a puppeteer and make all kinds of shit happen. So with that, Spellwork is not about the physical items. We are going to debunk the myth that it takes correspondences like crystals, herbs, and everything else, and the right moon phase and all this other stuff that has been really put out there, because that is what people can show. That is the easiest thing to say. Here's what Spellwork is. Grab a crystal, a candle, some sage, wear this color, do it at this moon phase on this day.
Write it in this book, recite this spell, cast a circle.
All the things that go into it. And you guys, I'm giving you the goods to this lesson right up front. So if you all drop off after this, I understand, because this is like really what it's all about. I'm going to explain the rest of it, but Spell work is truly about the vibration that we hold within ourselves that matches the outcome that we want. That is the power. When people talk about, oh, she's a powerful witch, what does it mean to be a powerful witch? It means being in total control of yourself, of your emotions, of the focus of your energy, of the ability to hold an image in your head long enough to bring that into your reality. Now, for newer witches, and I was one for a very long time, I've been practicing 25 years now, so my spell work is a little different. But when you're new, you know what really helps set the stage to hold that energy? The crystals, the herbs, the smells, the words, all those things it helps us get there. But it is not the thing. It does not hold the power like
It's like
people think.
foreplay.
Oh, we'll start doing sexual connotation. I love that. Yes.
It's
It is
getting you in the mood, getting you in the
It
right
is.
frame of mind to
It really
like
is.
really have a powerful,
Experience.
experience.
Yes.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so we should probably follow our lesson because I'll be all over the place. You guys,
Okay.
spell work's so exciting to me that
She talks a lot anyway,
you know
as
I
it
talk
is.
a lot. Okay.
And she's got a 12 martini olive. No, I mean a 12 olive. How many olives are
She
in there?
asked me what I was drinking, and I said olive juice. Or I said olive water. That's what I said. That's what I said.
Like that's a
But-
whole lot of olives.
I like them really dirty.
Okay. All right. So where were we?
Okay.
Wire spells a thing?
Yes, well, I wanted to say that as we all search in our souls and our hearts and our higher selves why we chose this path to become a witch, to practice witchcraft, my belief is, and I would love to hear if it's not your guys' belief or like what really drew you to this, but I really think that it's us wanting to reclaim a power, an internal power, not necessarily over people or things, but to really be able to be in control of our situations. That's what I think witchcraft is truly about. It's you reclaiming your inner power of who you are, who you believe you are, and not what society, your parents, your spouse, your kids, or your job says you are. Like you are an individual outside of all of those things. And that's what I think witchcraft really gives to us. And when we do spell work, we are in the work that really identifies us as like, what are our hopes and dreams? What are we really trying to call into our lives? What do we want to change? What do we want to heal from? So that's the premises. Why did I say premises? That's the premise going forward for tonight's meetup. I'll hand it over to Kat because I'm jibber jabber all the way.
Okay.
What makes a spell powerful?
All right. So what does make a spell powerful? We've already talked about how it's not the things, but how the things help us get to a certain level of vibration.
Yes.
So what makes your spell powerful is your intention and belief that you can have the desired result. If you don't believe that you can manifest money to whatever, buy a new car, if you don't believe that you can manifest a new job, a relationship, or any of those things, then you won't be able to, because it's what you believe that you draw to you. So spells are about results. So if you think of spells like prayer, you know how people sit and they're praying, they pray hard. You've seen them. If anybody that's ever gone to church, you've seen people or seen movies or whatever, you've seen people with their heads down and they pray for a long time. And they're very focused and their mouths are moving, they're saying they're talking to God, they're reciting whatever it is they're doing. You can think of spell work as very similar. It's like that's the space that you want to get in when you're trying to bring about a change or bring something into your life through a spell. You want to get in at that level of focus. I just gotta say, I'm so proud to hear you talk like this. It's effortless and you just know it all. It just feels so I'm a
good.
newer witch, like a lot of you guys.
I don't say that anymore now.
I'm still only like 4 years into this, but I get a lot of exposure.
And it was like so authentic.
I think that for me anyway, when you make the connection between something that people already know and understand, so you understand, and most people know, unless you were raised in a cave or a commune or something where it's like atheists and stuff, you don't know anything about
country, possibly
or somewhere else. But you can look any religious, you see the people in India and other countries praying and they're like heads down on the floor. They're really focused on that prayer and what it is that they want, that they're asking their God for. You're doing the same thing in a spell. You're asking the universe
or
to,
a deity
or a
yeah.
deity. Yeah.
And those are where the correspondences start to come in, you guys. Yes, you're not wrong at all. I just want to make sure we mention.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be the universe. It doesn't have to be spirit. It can be God.
It can be
Because
God.
God is
God universe or God energy.
God energy.
Christ energy. I
yeah.
truly believe in that as well. There's enough people that follow that I think that, you know, the Christ deity, if you can call it that, not like the religious figure, but that there's enough people that believe in that.
Yeah.
That's a thing. There's a flow with that. I've been in real churches. I say that, real churches. I've been in,
as opposed to fake churches.
I don't know. I have been in churches where, you know, I went in college. I told you, I actually, because of my psych degree, I had to go do an experiment, which was to expose myself to a culture that I wasn't familiar with. And I was like, I'm going to go sit in a Baptist church. Like, that should be fun.
Last week, we went to St. Pete and we saw James Van Praagh in person at a Unity church in St. Pete.
Yes.
And, you know, you could feel the energy in that room.
Really
when
good.
The pastor or whatever, I don't know what he's called.
No.
He wasn't called a pastor.
He didn't.
The leader, the
either.
spiritual leader or whatever, because it said
the organizer, maybe.
He didn't say that I don't know what he called himself, but it wasn't called a church. It was called a spiritual center. That's what this Unity church or Unity Spiritual Center was called. But
yeah,
you know,
you could use the word church, but
I remember looking at so anyway, same thing. So if you can make the correlation between when you got down on your knees when you were a little kid and you prayed every night to wake up in the morning, or for God to watch over your little brother who was in the hospital with tonsillitis or something like that.
So much guilt in religion.
If you
so much guilt.
That's the energetic. The point is that's the energetic space that you're trying to get into, and that's how you power your spells. You're powering your spells with what's inside of you.
Yes.
What you believe.
Yes.
And you need to believe it to bring it about.
Be true.
Because what you bring about,
what you think about,
you bring about.
Yes.
So after you're done with your spell, if you go off after your spell, like, ooh, okay, I put all my energy into that, and then you never think about it. And we'll cover this, I'm sure, later. And then you don't think about it, or you start having doubts, like, oh, is that really I wonder when that'll happen, if that'll happen. If you do that, you're diluting the work that you did. So you keep this mindset of I believe that I'm worthy of whatever it is, the new relationship, the new job,
$700 million,
$700 million, $200,000 a year in income, whatever it is,
whatever thing that you're like, that's a reach, but I'm going to ask for it anyways.
Yeah,
you have to actually believe that can come to fruition in some future tense for you. You have to see yourself in that moment.
And so what happens, so you guys have probably heard of quantum physics and the energetic field. Oh my God.
I don't have that in here. Actually.
I know you don't, but I just thought of it because I'm seeing a radiator vibrate. But, you know, we all know, or we should, if you don't, we're here to tell you, there's an energetic field across everything. And so what the energetic vibration that you're trying to get to is the one that lines up with the results that you want.
Yes. That is where words that you use within your spells or mantras that you continuously say to yourself, that is how you continue to keep an energetic umbilical cord to that desired outcome, because that is what you're repeating to yourself.
Yes.
I do want to say really quickly, because I don't know why I just got this thought of somebody passing, but you cannot defy death, and don't ever think that you should. You also have to let other people take their natural path in whatever way that is. This is not about controlling other people when we talk about this stuff. So I can wish my son recently got diagnosed with epilepsy. Like, I really felt like he's way gone and hating life and possibly super depressed. I cannot control what he does with his life. I'm here to experience life with him. So I'm not going to do a spell that says, keep him alive, keep him through it. Like, I would never do that for myself, because I'm not trying to change the path of somebody else. When we speak of these things in spells, you guys, we are just talking about our paths and what we want for our future selves. That's the direct umbilical line. I'm not saying that that energy line is relating to a significant other, a child, a parent, you know, a spouse's child. Things do have to happen the way that they do. There is going to be, you know, we all have to die. Yay. We all get to go back to where we're from. But as we do that, there's something else to be said about that. So I'm sorry, that was a quick kind of like sad note, macabre a little bit, but it's because my husband has experienced 2 deaths since I've been with him over the last 10 years. And there are definitely times when he has asked me, can you do something about this? I'm like, that's not the way I work at all. I don't mess with life and death, just so you guys know where I stand with that. And I think you stand with that too.
I do.
I don't involve myself.
I don't
with
believe
that.
we should.
No.
I just,
everybody's on their own path, and we
because
just
you
control
don't
our own.
Yeah, because you don't know what the other person's soul intent was when they came here.
Okay.
And if they have hardships in their life, it's not that you can't wish for them. I don't know.
And support them and be there and all
Yeah.
the things.
And, you know,
But
try to
live
pain
control
free and
for
stuff like
spell.
that, but to try to actually change somebody else's life through a spell, it gets into, would they even want that, you know? So
That goes way back to like lesson 2,
Yeah,
ethics and morals and all those things.
exactly. So
You decide what it is, yeah.
concentrate on you. And, you know, in a situation like that, where maybe somebody in your life is really sick and they don't have long to live, you know, the lesson there might be to, you know, help me to support them while they're here, and to be able to understand that this is their journey and that we all are going to go through this journey, and, you know, to sort of ease the burden on the people around, but
Yes.
but
There's other jobs we can do.
Yeah.
Finding, you know, peace and knowing that we last forever because we're souls in the next thing. But yeah,
I liked your analogy of the
popped in my
umbilical.
head. The umbilical energy cord.
Yeah,
That just happened today.
I know. I was like, I never heard that before.
I never said it.
We're gonna trade
Gosh,
that, because I think
trademark.
you can visualize that, right?
Yes.
You can understand that there's a
Imagine
connection.
you future self and you have an energetic umbilical cord to that situation, and you're just like pulling yourself more to that or them to you, whichever way you see it, but an energetic umbilical cord.
She's
I was
so
about to say
clever.
hashtag, but that's not it. Copyright me.
Trademark.
Trademark
Okay.
me.
So long spells versus short spells, which is
Yeah.
better?
Yeah.
Which is better? Which one can you remember? Which one don't you have to use a book for? Which one can you recite, or as a sort of a mantra, as you sit in your space and you focus on what you want? Which one flows for you?
Mm.
If it's a really long, if you can recite a whole entire page, then, and it flows for you, and you're not like, what was that third paragraph? Then do that. But usually, I don't even know if usually is the right word. For most people, I would say though, shorter is better. But what's your view on this?
When I talk about longer versus shorter spells, it's definitely also time limits that people set with themselves. Sometimes we get in our own human headspace and we go, if I didn't work really hard on this spell, then I don't deserve the outcome. That is a shadow thing that you'll have to work through. Can you make a simple request from the universe and believe that you deserve it? Sometimes people feel like they got to put in a work to do a spell for an hour, a ritual for an hour, sit there, let a candle burn down for 3 or 4 hours. That they believe that the hard work, the long-term thing is what powers the spell. This is just something to bring up so that you understand, can your wishes, can your spells be granted in an instant? Can they? Can you bring forth that energy? Or do you believe that you need 20 minutes of like, please bring me this, you know, and repeating it to yourself? And it is about what you believe. You guys have probably all heard the analogy of, every time I go to the grocery store, I know there's a front row parking spot waiting for me. I just know it. I just always believe it. So I've put that out there into the world, and I'm like, universe, I just know this is always going to happen for me. And for me personally, 9 times out of 10, I have great effing parking spots. I don't know why. I read this in like 10 years ago in a psychology book about mindset. And I was like, oh, really? So all I got to do is like, just believe that I can just change my belief instead of going, parking lots are so hard and I always got to walk so far away. What's your belief around a parking spot? What's your belief around going to
Or
the store?
drivers or things like
drivers,
really
or
slow
anything,
drivers,
yeah.
because I have this belief that I have the knack for picking the slowest line, the slowest driver. If somebody's gonna like slow down to like 0 nothing to turn, or somebody's like looking for something, I'm gonna get behind that person. Always happens. And
And it happens for you.
and the other day when I was driving and I realized, because I got behind another car, I was like, why do I have this knack for picking the slowest person in the whole city and get behind them? I don't care who it is. And I thought, well, you think that all the time. No wonder it happens. Duh.
So she's going to be changing that. And we're soon going to hear about how Kat's zooming through town, never hitting lights, and everybody just gets out of her way.
Yeah. And nobody like comes to a complete stop to make a right turn,
Yeah.
right, you know, right in front of me. Like everyone else is going 45 and I'm behind the person going 25.
It really does start with what you believe, because we will say this 1,000 more times, but what you think about, you bring about. So your hardcore, super held beliefs are the way that you're going to perceive the world. It is going to show up for you in that exact way. And spells are not different. Spells can be lengthy. You can put in hours worth of work and be like, I crushed that spell. I put in so much time, like it's got to happen for me. Guess what? Your belief in yourself just went up because you believe you did the work to do that. There's other people, like maybe me, I don't know. I'm just going to talk about the parking lot spell or the parking lot belief. It's not even a spell. My words are spells. Whatever we think about, we bring about. So if I believe
Speak
that,
it into existence.
you really do with spells. It doesn't have to be a long drawn out thing. So I'm always like, I always get the front row parking spot. Like it's just always waiting for me. There just happens to be this thing. And on the occasion, you guys, where I do not have a front row parking spot, because that still happens. You know what I say to myself? I do need my steps today. That's probably why I got like way out here in the boonies. I was like, you know what? I am actually going to go
Attitude
way
of
past all the cars. I'm going to park where there's nobody. And I'll be like, I'm getting my steps today and walking into the store super happy about it. Anyways, so just the way that we believe the situation is unfolding for us makes it more true for us. Like we do really create our realities through thought and words and beliefs.
All right. So let's see. So there are two sides to spells: our inner energy,
Inner energy.
inner energy, and energy that
Right here in the heart
exists
chakra.
outside of ourselves
Yes.
in the material world.
Yes. Which is what most books sell themselves on. I just want to make that clear. We're going to talk about the book thing, but nobody talks about the inner energy part of doing spells. I'm gonna let Kat explain.
They leave that out. They really do. And it's one of the things
to conceptualize.
Yeah.
How do you put that in a book?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I remember reading the spells and looking at the ingredients and I'm having like, I'm like, where the heck am I supposed to get mugwort? I mean,
We
I really
have that
need
in there
that.
too. Yes.
I know. So like, where do I get these weird things that I've never heard of before? Where do I get these ingredients? And I would be perplexed by it because I'm like, well, now I got to go searching for these things I've never heard of before. And then the spells were like, the spells, when I would read the spell, like, gosh, that's not how I would say that. That doesn't really align with me. So that's the external part of it. So we have the internal part, which I think is what we've been talking about, like what you believe,
Yes.
what you like truly
inner
like
energy.
yeah, like what do you believe about yourself? What do you believe you're capable of? What do you believe you deserve?
What do you believe about the world that you live in and what it gives to you?
And
right?
then there's the outside of ourselves.
Yes.
So okay, so the things that your material world are the things that we talk about that are like your crystals and your
Correspondences.
your correspondences,
Yes.
yes. So that you bring to your space, but you don't have to go by what a book says that you need. You can choose the things that you have around your house, the things that you personally connect with, the things that you think about when you think about the spell that you're doing, when you think about sitting down to do a spell, what do you envision? Like what comes to your mind? Think about the things you have around your house. What candles do you have? What herbs do you have? If you don't have anything, that's fine too. You don't really need anything.
You don't need anything.
You don't need anything. You can sit in a meditative state and just focus on
bringing something about.
That's
right. Yep. A lot of the work that I did early on, you guys, because when I became a witch, I was 17. I didn't get into spell work at all. I actually did tarot for my first year and a half. And then I went off to boot camp. And then I got exposed to a lot of people and I was like, that's a lot of information coming in. So I had to start like looking for books. It was slim to none in 1999. Like nobody was really publishing that stuff, or it wasn't in the areas that I was in. So I didn't get into spell work well into when I was 21, 22 years old. But what really did start to happen is I had to start focusing my energy on the things that I wanted, because books back then did say things like that, because there was no Amazon. There weren't huge box stores ready to sell you spell kits. There was none of that. So they didn't focus on all the correspondences that you needed. They were like, oh, if you have a crystal, perfect, great, wear that, use it, set it in your space. But here's how you center, here's how you focus energy, here's how you bring about a change in your life using just your internal mental power, your energy power, whatever you want to think about that soul existence in a physical body is. That's where we went with that. Did I get off track?
No, you're fine.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
I have like 500.
I do want to back up for a minute, because
Yes.
I thought of something as you were talking about how some people believe, or maybe it's even depicted somewhere, where you have to spend a lot of time.
Yeah.
Like you got to spend an hour, or you'll read somewhere it's like, I burned this candle I waited for this candle to burn down for a whole
Yes.
hour, and now I can't read the wax. I don't know what it means.
It's tough.
So there's information out there that would lead a new witch to believe that these are the things that you're supposed to be doing
Yeah.
to manifest change in your life.
Yeah.
And what I thought about is, I think, because religion has been such a huge part of our society, and most of us have, spent time in church as kids. When you think about church, how long church was. Oh my God, you had to be in there for like an hour. Sometimes the sermons were like an hour and a half. And so you think about all that energy is like, and I think there's a correlation between, so the energy that was involved in that, right? And then the energy that we think we have to put into for a spell. I think there's a correlation there
There definitely could be.
between those two, because you think, well, if I'm not sitting there and praying for an hour or something like I did when I was a kid in church,
It means I don't care.
it means,
I
must not want it, bad enough, because I'm not spending all this time and energy on it. So I just wanted
That
to.
is an interesting correlation for sure.
Yeah. So I don't know if anybody can relate to that. I grew up as a Catholic, so there was a lot of ritual involved in the Catholic Church. And so I'm still a recovering Catholic, and I probably haven't been to a Catholic church in 50 years or something, 40 years.
But it gets ingrained fast.
Yeah, it does. So let's see.
Can I tell you a funny story, you guys? I moved to South Carolina when I got out of the Navy in 2005, and they still have blue law there, where it was illegal to buy alcohol and other things on Sunday. And I was like, that's not real. It cannot be real. We live in the United States, where land of the free. I'm not free to buy. And what? So here was my thought on that. I'm like, so they make church really long and they restrict all these things because they're like, we don't want you having fun. We want you like reflecting on all your poor decisions and bad shit, so that you can drink more about it on Monday. I'm like, so we restrict everybody on Sunday, the last day off, so that then on Monday night everybody's like, I can't wait for a beer or whatever. Like, this is so backwards. I feel like it's promoting alcoholism rather than taking away from it. But when I went to that Baptist church, as my psychology, I hate to call it an experiment, they were all really nice people, but I only went as long as I had to. You started at 8, and I don't think you got out until like 12. And for me, it was like, you're just prolonging your desired activities. You're like, oh, so this is the sacrifice they talk about. So in order to be, not holy, but I don't know what they call it, like where you make this sacrifice, or you give up something so that you seem more religious,
committed. Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
Committed to the,
like, oh,
to your Lord. Like,
no, Lord.
because if you're not
like Jesus, Lord?
Yeah, like Jesus. Because if you're not, because I think the premise behind religion a lot is, if you're not suffering, you're not doing it right. Because basically they want to take everything away from you, anything that's fun, sex, alcohol,
right?
Just it, and like
Parties,
keep you in this little box,
gossip,
and don't cuss, and don't blaspheme, and don't this, and don't. And if you do, you're going to hell. So then it's a scary thing, and you're like, oh, please, I send 20. I used to have to go to confession right? I'd be like, okay, and this time, how many times did I lie this week? You know, you're a little kid, like, how do I remember that? I don't know. Anyway, so there's this whole like between the suffering or the sacrificing that you're making in church and the get to heaven. I got to sacrifice to get to heaven. We're going to Summerland, y'all. That's where we're all going.
Well, and I think that this really relates because as Kat talks about this, I really do see where witches can get sidetracked on, did I work hard enough for this? Did I put in enough? Did I sacrifice? And it's sort of ingrained in us. I mean, look what we all had to go through to graduate high school or college, or stay in a bad relationship because you're just supposed to make things work. And as women, I mean, I know that there's at least one guy in here because I saw Ryan, come on. How much suffering do we, Ryan, how much suffering do we allow ourselves to go through before we say that it's enough? And that can really translate into your spell work, into your ritual work, because you're just so effing used to it, because it's what's been demanded of us. It's what's been thought of. Pleasure is not a thing. Being totally immersed in a pure pleasure place is like, well, that's just simple.
It's hedonistic.
Oh, heathens, yay.
So, gosh, don't it? I lost my train of thought. Oh my gosh. I had something really good too for that. Okay. We'll keep moving on. Alrighty. Let's see.
Building or controlling your energy. All right. I'm going to fly through the next couple sections because I feel like I can describe it really, really well, because I've been working on this a long, long time. I'm 42 and I started like 25 years ago. So I feel like I got a lot. It's like half my life almost. All right. When you want to have focused energy, here is what I want you to do. I want you to visualize yourself in the happiest moment that you can in the thing that you're looking for. So if it's love, I want you to picture yourself in the most amazing, intimate, loving relationship that you've ever had. And then I want you to just let that fill your body. I want you to really allow yourself to live in that fantasy moment. Living in that fantasy moment that people call it is actually living in that future moment. So when you're thinking about what you really desire and you're imagining yourself in that moment, and you can feel all the emotions, you can taste it, hear it, see it, smell it, you are projecting and you are creating that energy umbilical cord to that future desired outcome. And that is what you're living with. And the more times that you think about it like a memory, like it's already happened for you, you are calling that into existence for you, because that your brain doesn't know reality from fact. It doesn't know reality from the waking world. You start thinking of monsters under your bed and your brain starts reacting like there's monsters under your bed, right? So this is so true in spell work. It's the same thing. Find yourself in these pleasurable, joyful outcomes that you're looking for in your spell work and sit in that feeling for as long as you possibly can. 5 minutes is great. Quality over quantity is always going to be the key. A quality 5 minutes over a struggling 30-minute session of sitting in the energy that you're looking for is always going to be better. So your visualizations, and this is why we get into meditations, because learning to shut down all that stupid chatter that we get of like, you got to get the kids ready for bed, there's things you got to pack for tomorrow, the laundry's not done, your husband's coming home in 30 minutes and he needs dinner, or whatever the things are, you haven't checked your oil lately, your car has a flat tire, whatever the things are that just impede your brain when you're trying to sit quietly. This is where the term a woman in total control of herself, that's what witch means. You can shut those things down and go, none of you matter right now. I'm focused on this. That is where power, the word power in witchcraft comes from, because we can shut out the world and all of the stupid little responsibilities that don't really make or break our life. And we're just focused on what we're really truly calling into our lives at that moment. This is all to bring about a change. I'm sure we know that, right? We have spells in our life, in our world, because we are looking for something to change, whether it's healing from a bad relationship, getting rid of somebody who's toxic for you, helping you deal with the passing of a loved one, getting over the fact that you don't know who you are and you're still finding yourself. Every year, yay, I'm changing all the time. I love it. You're just constantly searching for that better thing for you, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's not selfish, it's not arrogant, it's not self-centered. It's healing for your soul and trying to figure out your life's purpose. as we start to do spells, thinking that we're bringing in things that we want that fix problems, we actually start uncovering who we truly are and what we truly want. Because say you did a spell for $1,000 and you're like, $1,000 would fix all my problems. Then you get the money and you're like, I have bigger problems. What happened? This was supposed to fix it all. You start to really uncover what you're truly missing and that you might need to rearrange your whole life. That is how visualization, focusing your energy, and seeing yourself in that future place can really help you change your life. That does all the things like the healing, the changing, becoming who you are, satisfying your higher self, all the reasons why we're truly here, not to get so caught up and lost in the mundane world.
Easy to do.
A lot of talking, yes.
Okay. All right. So we talked about they're meant to bring about change.
Yes.
They should be fun. So this whole process should be fun.
It shouldn't feel like the religious sacrifice that we might be talking about, where if you don't spend enough time, energy, money, searching for ingredients, finding like these specialty items.
If it's not arduous.
Yeah, I love that word.
It
Arduous.
doesn't need to be arduous.
It doesn't need to be arduous. It can be fun, light, joy filled. I wrote down other words, I'm sure. Not dictated by, am I doing this right or wrong? That's probably like the next big thing to get into is when new witches are doing spells, it's like, am I doing this wrong? I feel like I'm doing this wrong. I'm not doing this right. Like,
I've never done this before. How do
I know I'm doing this right?
Yeah.
And that, I'm so sorry, that's Taylorism, born in the early 1900s, where they basically told people that they were just their bodies to do physical labor and small jobs and not their minds. So that's just a product of living in the US. You don't have a wrong or right way to do something if it feels good for you. Go with that flow. Find that level of, okay, this lady told me to use lilies, but I really like daffodils. Or, somebody told me to use thyme and I'm really impartial to rosemary and I grow it. Why not use that? Do things like that make sense to you. Find the substitutions or the venues or the avenues of your spell work or of your practices that just come more natural. If you have to work really hard at it, except for shadow work, if you have to work really hard at the other stuff, you're going to lose passion. You're going to lose drive, happiness, fun, joy, all that stuff. Yeah. It shouldn't feel so hard. It's supposed to be lighthearted and fun. So there is no right or wrong. There's just what you feel you want to be doing at that time.
And if you need any reassurance that this is the correct information, think about when Jamie started this, there weren't books, there wasn't Amazon, none of this, there weren't blogs about this and articles written. There's so much content written about this now that I think it's
overwhelming.
I think in a way it sort of hamstrings us, and is that the right word? It doesn't allow us to be ourselves and just be intuitive with what we're doing. So
intuition gets strangled out by overload of information. Yeah.
If you just remember, the magic's in you, not in the things, not in the words. It's in you.
You have it all.
Okay.
Find that confidence where you're like, I know that I can do this. Don't look for acceptance or validation outside of yourself. Just go with it. And don't tell anybody. Don't open yourself up for the criticism.
And here's another thing I want to say. If you're brand new to this and you haven't done spells before, you've only done a couple and you're like, oh gosh, I'm just so nervous about it. I just don't, then start, just start practicing. Find a little time by yourself, go to the park, go to the woods, go out to the beach at night or wherever by yourself and just sit with it, with nothing, with just you, and think on what it is that you want to bring. So you can start practicing, I guess, I don't know if we would call it practicing, but just put your toe in the water and try it and then see what happens and see how you feel at the end of that.
Make small requests first. If you think that asking for $1,000 is too much in the beginning, and you're like, I'm not powerful enough to do that. Ask for something small. There's always this thing in, who's our guy? Fuck.
Improv?
Nope. Other dude we follow like hardcore.
Oh, Dispenza. Joe Dispenza.
Okay, there's always this thing with Joe Dispenza where he's like, tell the universe you want a cup of coffee. Just a cup of coffee, $3. Like, that's not a lot. You should be able to think that somehow, some way, somebody's going to offer you a free cup of coffee. Go into the world every day expecting that until it happens. That's when you'll start to hone your being comfortable with asking the universe
Get
to
the
field.
front row parking space.
That's where I'm at. I'm like, I can make coffee at home by myself. I don't need that. I'm like, I like to have the front row parking spot so that all my cold stuff, because we live in Florida where it's, 2000 degrees all the time. I don't want all my cold stuff to melt. So I like that front row parking spot for that. So it's
Okay.
just asking for little things to start building that habit. It's a habit. That's it. You're just building a new habit.
Okay, so pre-written
Pre-written
spells or spell books. Did you
Spell
bring any
books.
spell books?
I did not know because there
Okay.
are so many.
We have lots of them. I have a
Spell
whole
books.
shelf full. They're fun.
They're so fun. They're creative.
I love books.
Yeah,
So
well, I love
I have a
books.
thing about books, and I bought like
I
so
wonder
many
where I
of
got it from.
um
I thought I'd meet the man of my dreams in a Barnes and Noble because my mom showed it.
so the
Bookstore.
pros with books, with spell books, is they're handy resources. They're great for getting ideas.
Mhm.
They can lead you through visualization
Yep.
and help you with correspondences. A lot of them have already done the cross-referencing for you so that you can know what this crystal, one crystal or one herb or whatever has many different properties
Many
or
things.
correspondences. So that helps you not having to research. So if you're going to get books, I think I would look for books with
Spell books are great.
correspondence tables.
Fun.
The cons of spell books is that the words don't align with your intentions. And sometimes they're just awkward. To me, I find I was like, I would never say that. They're really long or complicated or awkward. They use unfamiliar words or phrasing, or they're awkward.
They're awkward.
They have to be read out loud or memorized.
Or memorized.
So if you have to do that,
Yeah.
and the ingredients list can make you feel like you have to have them in order to do the spell.
yeah,
And you don't, but they make you feel that way because it's like,
Yeah.
here's the
they
spell,
wrote it.
here's the ingredients that you need. So
Yeah.
get these ingredients, then light a candle and say these words,
Mm.
and then make it happen. And then that's what's going to bring your manifestation into reality.
So I've never said this online before, you guys, but guess what? Spell books make us believe that these spells work. Don't they? You buy a book, it got published. Obviously, these spells must work. You're looking for a spell that
So,
works.
yeah.
This seems credible. And
Mhm.
yet, how do we know the author ever did it? How do we know other people how do we know it will work for us? But there is that perception that because it's printed in a book, it's going to work.
Yep.
And it's
That
that's
too.
an
So
illusion.
there's another con of that.
It's a but
Um,
it's a realization that anybody could self-publish a book, and I'm not saying that. I love all the books that I have. I love the authors, but
There's not
just
one-
because it's printed in a book,
there's not one that I
in the Bible, there are things that are just not accurate, and it's not meant to be taken word for word.
yeah.
Just
Sure.
saying. Okay, so spell books, yay.
I bought this beautiful book of drink recipes, witch drink recipes. It's so pretty. It's so pretty. It's just gorgeous, right? And then I open it up, and every single drink that they made is so freaking complicated. And I have to have all these. It would probably cost me $50 to make one drink, and then I would have that one, ingredient that I would never use again. That cost $19 or something. I love the book. It's so pretty, but it's not practical. So sometimes the books just aren't practical.
I love that you brought that up. I didn't write that in the notes. Look at her just growing with the lesson. Practicality. I guess that's where you get like 500 different ingredients in a book that they say you need. And some of them are only grown in like the remotest, Icelandic island. You're like, what? I got to get that. Yeah. So it makes you feel the pressure of,
or you live in a part of the country where they're asking for a certain, say from a tree. Like if we were to pick a spell that is like, okay, you need the branch from an aspen tree, but make sure that it's on the ground, because you don't want to break off the tree. But that's, that'll make your spell more powerful if you have this branch from an aspen tree, a white aspen tree. Well, we live in Florida. There are no aspen trees here. So do I got to call my friend in Colorado and be like, can you go out in the woods and pick up a branch and send it to me?
I got palm fronds galore. I got pine needles.
So that's the other thing. So you can see how the books could really be like,
you in.
and then they make you feel like you can't do it. Like, it's sort of like, this is
It's
useless.
deflating.
Yes,
That's a good word.
deflating.
It's
Yes,
deflating.
it is deflating.
Ooh.
So remember we talked about this earlier about being instinctual when you just trust your instinct to pick up things around your own home. We talked about this early on in this class, where I think we even had people do, we had a
Yeah.
whole table full of
Table,
stuff that we
yes.
got from all over the house.
Yes.
Just things that were around here. And it's
Right,
like,
what
what
could
can we
this
use this
be?
for? What can we do this for?
Yeah.
So instead of going out and buying anything, look around what you have and what does it say to you? Or when you think
What does it
about
represent?
or when you think about something that you want, what comes to mind? You know, I think I've told you guys before, I did a love spell one time. And I took, Jamie had me do this. So I went around the house like gathering things up. And I took a pair of panties, you know how they have a little bow on the front, you know, some panties do, or like old
I
lady
didn't
panties.
have her do that. By the way, she thought of that. I had just had her do the love spell.
So I
Let's
took the
clarify.
bow off of the panties and that was part of my spell.
Yes.
But I remember
She's a very sexual creature. This
I remember reading that somebody like threw a pair of panties into the corner.
Yeah, a red
and
pair
was
of
like-
panties. Yeah.
And like, there's my spell.
That was feng shui. Yes. There you go. Yeah. It was that was part of feng shui. Yes.
Thank you for joining us for week 12 of the
Yes.
Beginner Witch series. Tonight we talked about spell work.
And we had an amazing time.
Yes.
And we have one more week left.
1 week left.
See you next
All right.
time.
See you next time.
Bye.